Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this end of the weekend. It is Sunday, July 23rd, 2023. It's about 11:56 a.m. here, just before noon. Latest quake shows a 5.1 earthquake down here into the Chiapas, Mexico area. It looks like not that 3.2, but this here in the purple circle. There we go, 5.1 coming in into the area of Chiapas, Mexico, 10 kilometers deep. We have been seeing, of course, a little bit of movement down here over the last couple days or so. Also had some activity into the Gulf of California overnight. Looks like a 4.2 coming in. Let's check out the USGS. They are reporting that. That was actually just within the last hour. A little bit of a downgrade there by the USGS to a 4.1 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. But it's an overall trend here of seismic elevated activity across the region along the subduction zone levels, and starting to work its way over here around Honduras, where we did see some activity yesterday. Let me pull up the USGS map here. Had a couple smaller earthquakes here in the area. Looks like it was maybe around the Nicaragua area where we did see some 3.1s. Kind of hard to tell when it's on the earthquake 3D globe here. But either way, definitely an uptick in movement across the Middle America Trench. Looks like another 3.2 coming into the area now here on the globe. So we'll keep an eye on that. That is a very sensitive area in terms of some larger scale potential movement out here. And of course, what happens along the Middle America Trench does play a major part on the Caribbean plate over here to the east. It's a very small plate that the Puerto Rico area resides on. Looking at the activity here today around the Puerto Rico region, seen a handful of earthquakes here, mostly around the Puerto Rico, scattered out here across the Puerto Rico mainland area. The Puerto Rico Trench specifically looks pretty quiet for now, at least according to the USGS, but we'll continue to watch that area for some movement. Either way, definitely a little bit of an uptick in activity there today. All right, let's look at the states, see what's going on up here across the United States here. Most of the movement there across Texas, Oklahoma, and areas here are from last night. We did see, I believe we've seen a 2-pointer up here in Wyoming early this morning, about 7 o'clock or so. 2.5 just outside Yellowstone. That's actually well south here of Yellowstone, around the Wind River Range, it looks like. So let's double check the Yellowstone seismograph stations here real quick and see what we have. There's that 2.5 showing up on a few stations. Not all of them, but a few. It was somewhat of a smaller quake, but a lot of these stations here to the south on the Yellowstone map did pick it up. Doesn't look like there's any major swarms kicking up here across Yellowstone. No major movement. A handful of smaller microquakes there across the area today. See if I can spit that out. All right, Pacific Northwest. A little bit of activity here at the southern end of the Cascadia. Got a 1.4 just offshore, it looks like. Or right onshore, near the Pistol River area. Aside from that, some smaller quake activity up into the Cascades of Washington and Oregon. California, now there's not a whole lot showing up here on the map right now as far as anything within the last hour. No red circles indicating some older movement. Looking at the last activity out here, looks like some ones across the area over the last couple hours, but nothing above 2.5 in the West Coast region, so a little on the quiet side. We'll continue to watch it though. A lot of activity stirring up downstream. Potentially could have an effect further upstream if we get that migration going up through the Gulf and into the plate boundary of the Pacific and the North American plate. Continue to watch that. South America area. One earthquake from today, at least 4.4 near San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. 178.4 kilometers below the surface. That's a subduction zone earthquake. A little spotty there today, as you can see on the earthquake 3D globe. A little bit of movement stirring up here across the Azores. Let's see what we got here in the Atlantic. USGS not really reporting any of that activity, but it looks like we did have a recent 4.2 and some other smaller quakes being reported here across this area. Kind of like a triple point junction here, if you will, between these three major plates showing some activity. South Atlantic Ocean stirring up slightly, and across the Antarctica area, the plate boundary here. 4.9, the latest quake this morning in the Southwest Atlantic Ocean, down over here. We continue to watch areas across the subduction zones. If we're seeing divergent boundary activity here, should stir up some further movement across the South Sandwich Islands, the trench area out here within this range. South Sandwich Trench. All right. See what else we got here across the area. New Zealand, nothing showing up here. USGS never shows anything on here, but a look at the EMSC globe. Looks like some smaller quake activity from yesterday. Let's go ahead and jump in here to the GeoNet servers just for verification. And there we go. I just need to bring them up top here. That way I don't have to look for them. Some activity there from yesterday. It looks like the all events, I'm sure, going to show some smaller quakes. There's 2.5 South Island just outside of Christchurch area. Where's the airport located there? International Airport. Is that outside of town? South area of the city? Anyone know? I'm kind of curious. 3.8 just off the North Island area. A couple smaller quakes in there. Let's go ahead and check out the earthquake drums and see what's going on here. There's that 3.8, it looks like. Not this one. This is from last night. Let's see here. Yeah, they said there was a 3.8 off the North Island area. I guess that's going to be this one right here. There's only a couple stations that are picking it up, and the ones that are positioned over here across the northeastern area of the North Island. Either way, still continuing to watch this area. Across Fiji, Tonga area, latest quake shows looks like a 4.5. Indonesia area, New Guinea, right up here in the region. 4.5 back in Tonga as well. A little bit of activity on the deeper side, bouncing back and forth between this region of the plate boundary. This is probably going to be worth watching over the next day or so with all this bouncing back and forth activity. There's 5.1 across the Java area, Java Trench, Indonesia area. Let's see if we got a cluster of activity going on here. It's working its way up around the bend, as you can see here, across the Java Trench into the Myanmar region. That's very typical of the plate direction and movement here across the area. So you can kind of follow that there on the map. Continue to watch that, though, just for some further potential movement. Let's see what else we got here across the area. Mediterranean, some smaller quakes there from yesterday. Nothing going on out in the Indian Ocean area. As you can see, things look pretty quiet there for now. There's some activity there in Turkey. Looks like a 4-pointer coming in. And, of course, the movement here across the Myanmar area along the plate boundary. USGS reporting a couple earthquakes there. One deep one. That's a 10-kilometer deep 4.5. And then a somewhat of a deeper quake there just off the plate boundary, 100 kilometers deep. For that 4-pointer that came in, looks like just a couple hours ago. All right, anything else that we're missing? Goodness. It is going to be a little bit cooler out here today, I think, folks. Here in California, it's supposed to be about 105 today. Got some clouds coming in, which I can deal with. I guess better than 110. Alaska, 1.6 stirring up there. There's a little bit of activity into the Russia region. Notice this cluster up here away from the plate boundary. Look at that bend right there. That's a spectacular feature there between the two plates. This is the North American plate up here, Pacific plate down south here, and this is just very dynamic. But this zone right here is a major player in producing some large earthquakes. Got a super high slip rate, accumulation slip rate here. And we got a little activity stirring up here into the I'm not for sure how you pronounce that. I know how to pronounce the Kamchatka area, but there's a little extra extra meaning here, or extra couple extra letters there in that. Either way, 4.5, along with what looks like some other earthquake activity there on the globe mixed in. So we'll watch that area. Notice that movement along the Aleutian Trench here over the past couple days. You can see it there on the globe, kind of spreading over towards that region where it's got that bend up here. So we'll keep an eye on that area for some further movement closer to the plate boundary there in the red line. Not a whole lot going on in Hawaii. Did see some activity stirring up there yesterday across the Kilauea Volcano area. That's going to be this region up here. Of course, it's been paused since about the first or second week of June. It doesn't look like anything stirring up as far as volcanic activity goes. Just some small earthquake activity currently. Of course, I'm sure it has to do with former eruptions there. I think this is a subsidence of what's going on at the lava lake area, but I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that. Let me see if we got anything stirring up from the hazard notification system here. Weekly update, negative, nothing else going on there. The volcano hazards map that will show us potentially active volcanoes or ones that they are watching. They're from the USGS. I just want to see what we got for earthquake activity on one of the seismograph stations here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Here's Kilauea Volcano. The tilt meters, like I say, some of these tilt meters are from, well, they're supposed to be from 1 to 2 days, but they're non-active. Somebody needs to get up there and see if they can't fix them. But the seismograph stations here, just wanted to double check that. These are working, but these are from the past 10 years, past 2 years. I'm more concerned of what's going on here in the last couple weeks or last couple days. Not necessarily the... I felt a spider on me. You know, not over the year time span. Either way, let's check out the seismograph stations here, and this not working. Surprise, surprise. Here we go. There's that 2.7 that came in earlier this morning, it looks like. Past 6 hours of activity. I believe that's, let's see here, Hawaii time. Local time, UTC time is what I want to look at. That looks like 1900, and that's coming up on 1900 right now. So that's going to be that 2.7 that kicked up there across the Kilauea Volcano area. Some other smaller quakes in the region of Kilauea that we're just kind of watching, some smaller ones, but I don't know. I think before we see this thing stir back up, we need to see some activity at the deeper levels, which would provide us with a clue that magma is flowing back up towards the surface area. We're trying to find its way back up to the surface area of the Kilauea volcano. I just don't think it's happening right now. All right. Space weather activity, anything major going on overnight? Well, it looks like we had somewhat of a long duration sea flare event here overnight. Not for sure if that was Earth directed or not, but definitely looks like it produced some type of CME from that small flare. As far as current flaring goes at the Earth side, Earth facing side here, a little bit of activity that's worth watching on a far side sunspot there on the southeastern limb. That does look like it is currently flaring. What is this up here? A little tornado on the sun. Neat little feature of plasma. Either way, I think this region is worth watching here in the hours and days ahead. Let's see if we got a little further glimpse of it. Just barely, but this will become visible throughout the hours and days ahead as it progresses across the visible disk of the sun, and looks fairly complex for now, but of course that seems to be the story all the time. We'll get these super complex sunspots producing, large M flares and occasional X flares, but they're facing away from us, and then as soon as it faces the Earth, everything behaves, calms down, but that's not going to be the case forever. So pretty much all of these sunspots that are currently facing the Earth are relatively stable. Maybe a region over here still shows a little bit of complex structure, and up into this area. But for the most part, these are all scattered about. They don't look like they are, worth watching at all. It's ginormous. A couple of these are pretty big sunspots, easily viewable with a solar telescope or solar camera. Make sure you got got to have a solar camera. It just picked me up a lens here last week. It's a blackout type of lens, and the only thing that you can see through it is the sun. That's about it. It's about the only thing it's good for, but it's pretty neat to see. Either way, we'll watch this area, southeastern limb here, in the coming days for some further flaring. Right now, 99% chance for C flare, M flare at 45, X flare around 5% chance. Seeing a little bit of aurora stirring up here. Looks like KP index reaching up around the 2 or 3. Just some light activity across the auroras on the polar regions, but not really looking at anything major stirring up here. Here's the southern area of the globe around Antarctica for the folks that are down there. I don't know, is it always cloudy or is it always clear? Whenever I see pictures, I always see like some type of haze or some type of cloud cover going on down there. Wouldn't mind visiting Antarctica. I think it'd be kind of cool, literally. All right, let's check out the Storm Prediction Center here. Not a whole lot of severe weather, but there is looks like mainly a threat for some wind events out here in the 15% category out around the Charlotte, North Carolina area, Greensboro as well. So if you're within this range, keep an eye on the sky. Could have some wind events there. Hail is not a big potential today. Looks like mainly a 5% chance of some large hail. That's fairly minimal. But definitely seeing a lot of thunderstorm activity out here today across the good portion of the country. Meanwhile, out here on the West Coast, we'll continue to cook, but not quite as hot. We got 92 degrees here at noon or just after noon. Yesterday was about 100 already. So we got a little bit of cloud cover coming in from the south. Now that is not going to bring any rain, at least to my area. Down in Southern California, potentially could see a little bit of some thunderstorm activity down around San Diego. It looks like maybe could be picking up a little bit of rain. Of course, Flagstaff getting in on some lightning. This is all monsoonal moisture starting to be pulled up here, and this is, most of the time you get this monsoonal moisture coming up in this fashion here, up through Mexico into the Four Corners. But this activity is kind of spreading way out here to the west as well. But there's just not a lot of moisture once it reaches up this far. Pulling up the last 12 hours of satellite imagery here. You can see this just blowing up. Look at Mexico, man. Goodness, that looked like a lot of moisture down there. I'm thinking that is from some type of former tropical development down there. And you can kind of see where the high pressure system is on this map. Of course, clockwise is the high pressure rotation here in the northern hemisphere. If there was a low pressure out here, it'd be spinning counterclockwise, and that would most likely stir up this moisture in this direction here towards the plains. But yeah, a lot of this is kind of shooting its way up here to the west coast right now. The only thing that's doing is, keeping us a little bit cooler. But I don't see any of that moisture really reaching up here in the northern Cal. It just kind of dissipates, and we get some cloud cover. But I'll take it, I guess. Some low pressure systems up here across the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be scooting in here throughout the next couple days, providing them. Look at that counterclockwise rotation here. I wish that was down here a little bit further. Oh, probably a good 1,000 miles or so. Maybe not 1,000. We got about 500, 600 miles. A little bit further south. That would provide some cooler temperatures and some rain, it looks like, maybe for California. But hey, we'll just see what Mother Nature has in store. I'm looking forward to this El Nino. I'm really hoping throughout the wintertime that's going to progress into a very strong El Nino pattern. comparable to the 1997, 1998 winter out here along the West Coast. We had a very wet year that year. What's rather odd, though, during our triple dip La Nina, that was the third La Nina last winter, right? It's supposed to have dry conditions, and we did. In the first two La Nina patterns, but this last La Nina was a very wet one. Lots of snow for Southern California, lots of rain all over the West Coast. So it's, I don't know, I don't think there's any one specific pattern that follows the other when it comes to, you know, these weather cycles. I think we can get a little, little trend on what they do, but I don't think it's always going to be the same each La Nina or El Nino pattern. There's always variations in between, you know, these patterns. But either way, we're definitely working our way into a El Nino for the winter time. I'm hoping it's going to be just as strong as these 2 years. Very wet, very windy, my type of weather. You guys can have the sunshine here in California, 110 degrees. I bring on the winter time. I'm not even joking. All right, I'm going to jump off here, folks, and hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. You know, it's if you work tomorrow, take it easy. Just relax, get some R&R in. It's always good to take care of yourself. Make sure you're recharged for the work week. A lot of people like to hustle and bustle on the weekend, and then come Monday morning have to get up ready for work, and you know, already tired and drained. So take care of yourself. Very important while we're here on this planet to make sure we get some R&R, but also at the same time, you know, have some fun out there. Enjoy life and enjoy time with friends and family, because you know, you never know how much longer any of us have. Kind of crazy world. Take care, folks. We'll catch you guys back out here later tonight, unless something major happens out here. Have a good one.